People of Earth, what's up, y'all? I got a news flash for you. You ready for this? All right, let's do this. Hey, here we go. There was never a race to space, just some mission control to control this place. They gave us the ball, Earth, smile right to our face. NASA went to the moon on a studio lot. That's when Buzz and Neil, they got their big Hollywood shot. They got back and looked whack like somber robots. Cause at the end of this plot, 52 mil a day, and CGI's all we got. NASA, we like to see your credentials, please. And stop selling us on Bill Nye and MDT. Because they've malfunctioned like they came out the fly machine. Nah, we ain't running. We call BS on your blue marble G's. You done more airbrushing than the carnivals, painted custom tees. We like real science, not the pseudo type. You guys will scratch your own back so long. We bought into your hype, but now our eyes wide open, looking fresh at the plane. B900 on draw, more legit than your golf game. Had us on bending knee at the altar of space, but now we flat smacked them right back in their place. One people, one truth, in the same race.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Flat Earth Podcast. I'm your co-host, Curious Jay, alongside me, Dave, from deep inside the rabbit hole. Back with you once again for another hour or so of Flat Earth audio. And Dave, it's been a couple weeks since we've been on. I have been in Kidville over here. Kids are out of school for the summer. So how are you doing?
Feeling good. Not as frustrated as I was the last time. Ready to do another podcast. I've been feeling good. Been lots of great new Flat Earth videos coming out. Lots of proofs. And I really feel some momentum coming in this awakening, even though the trolls will beg to differ.
Of course they will. Of course they will. So since our last program, I think I've only seen like 2 Flat Earth videos. We'll touch upon those in a little bit, and I'll be able to give some insight. Other than those 2, I'm just going to have to get you to update me on the last 10 days or so of videos. Before we do that, I want to bring attention to the red button on our website.
Yeah, on the bottom right-hand corner of theflatearthpodcast.com, there's a little red bell. And if you click that, you'll get little subtle notifications on your computer screen. Just a little flag will come out when new content is added. You're not going to get an email that'll just fill up your inbox. It's just a little thing on the top right of your screen, pops out, says, hey, something new is added. You can check it out or not. It's just a good way to keep up with the latest videos and stuff, and maybe it would be a good thing for you, Jay, so you can watch the good stuff. Yeah, of course. I need it just as bad as anyone these days. And speaking of YouTube, you had mentioned this, and it does not surprise me one bit because they've done it several times already, but I believe it was Mark Sargent who brought attention recently to them altering the Flat Earth search count once again on YouTube. Yeah, when you search Flat Earth, it's been growing steadily, and we just surpassed, it was 20 or 22 million. It was just about to pass Donald Trump when you Google Donald Trump, and they reset it to, I think I checked earlier, it was 13.4 million. So wow. You know that they're really desperate when they have to do something silly like that.
I mean, either that or just 8 million videos just happen to be removed overnight.
That's also possible. I don't know how to count them up.
Well, let me tell you, if that's what happened, they removed 8 million videos.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, definitely. The couple videos that I saw, the first one was the Salton Sea, the deal that the investigation group did, and Jaron and Rob Skiba and some other crew were out there, along with National Geographic.
It was a test being run by National Geographic and some other group to prove that there was curvature.
I got so frustrated watching this before they even pulled the shenanigans with when the Flat Earth side could see the balloon, and before they even pulled all that, I was so frustrated because I think I mentioned this analogy back on earlier episodes of the podcast, Dave, but I have to mention it again. If I go into a ornithologist, a bird doctor, and I bring in a bird.
Thanks for clarifying what an ornithologist was. I was like, my toenails? What's wrong with your toenails?
Yes, well, just in case, for those of you, for those who don't know, that's the bird doctor, right? The bird scientist. But let's say I bring in a bird with no wings. He's born without wings, and yet he flies, right? And I show the guy this, and he's like, wow, that's crazy. And he turns around and says, Well, it must be wrong because look, here's this bird over here with wings that can fly. That is not, as a scientist, that's not what you should do. I don't care how many people set up a camera and a balloon across a sea and think that they prove the curvature. If there is one legitimate video or sighting where we see something we shouldn't see, that has to be explained. In other words, the bird doctor is not doing science if he simply just says, oh no, they definitely fly with their wings because look, here's a bird in this cage over here. He's flying with his wings, but that doesn't explain the bird that I brought in. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, I just think it's so pointless for them to keep trying this. Like, don't do that. Instead, show me any experiment in the world where I can see something beyond a curve. Show me this refraction.
Whenever a portion of a building or something in the distance is missing, they say that proves curvature, even though that curvature should be way more than the amount that is missing. But if you can see it once, clearly, prove that it's not a mirage like Rob Skiba did with Chicago, where he drove across the lake with the skyline the whole way.
The entire time.
Right. And it didn't go away. Proves it's not a mirage, proves it without a shadow of a doubt. They'll just ignore that. They see out of 100 pictures, if one of them has a little bit of bottom missing up, that's it, curvature. It's really the opposite. If you can see it once, it's not curvature.
One time is all it takes.
The atmosphere changes, the curvature doesn't change.
And that's what I'm saying. They're acting like the ornithologist who just simply points at a bird and ignores the bird with no wings flying in his office.
Jaron actually, I don't think he was there, but he actually said it the best. He said, we were there looking for the truth. They were there looking for the curve.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
And for those of you that don't know, while the test was, they had these balloons and they were going to raise them up. I think they had to be up
15 feet or something, 30 feet. Yeah.
Whatever the number was. And while they were trying to locate it from the other side, a flat earther on the other side had a P900 and saw the balloons before they were up, radioed over, told the people, hey, we see the balloons already. And the Nat Geo guy said, oh, no, you can't see them. They're behind the curve.
Yeah, he's like, oh, well, no, they can't see it. It's behind the curve.
Right.
That's not possible. Well, like, okay, if that's not ignoring data, I don't know what is.
For those of you that didn't see it, on Jaronism's channel, he has the Salton Sea video. It's a short one for him, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it explains the whole thing. It's very, very telling on how desperate they are to prove that we live on a spinning water ball flying through infinite space.
Well, and once again, I just have to go back to this. Even if it didn't reek of desperation, it's like, in the name of science, you're doing the wrong thing. Don't focus on showing me a sea somewhere where you think something is blocked by curvature. Show me an experiment, a demonstration that explains why we can see in other instances and all these different shots from around the world, how we can see beyond the so-called curve. Until you do that, you're the doctor just pointing to a bird with wings, ignoring my bird that flies without wings.
Yep.
Damn it.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
The second video that I did catch this week was the one that several people mirrored. Can't remember his name now. The Reverend in Alabama who did the entire sermon on the flat earth documents in the government.
Pastor Dean Odell.
Yes, Dean Odell. That's it. Thank you. Did you watch that?
Yeah, he's the one that blew up the rally conference with a very heavy Christian message, which was fascinating, but really sent some people over the edge. He really outdid himself, pulling all those documents together, just showing that NASA and the government is, all of the documents say, modeling the Earth as a flat, non-rotating plane. And they said it again and again and again. Matt Long, he put together a montage of all the times that he read that phrase, flat, non-rotating plane. It's actually very, very funny to watch.
But this is a NASA technical manual. MIT, the Army Research Laboratory, flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Flat Earth with a flat Earth assumption. Non-rotating flat Earth. A flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. A flat and non-rotating, assuming a flat Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. A non-rotating Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth, validity of flat Earth based on a flat Earth assumption for a flat Earth and a flat atmosphere. Flat, non-rotating Earth. The flat Earth model. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. Ballistic vehicle motion. A closed-form solution is developed for the motion of a ballistic vehicle entering the atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. The assumption of these equations assume a flat Earth.
That's awesome. The one thing that surprised me in there, because I had seen several of the ones that have been floating around for a while, from NASA and that sort of thing, but I was shocked at one of them, one or two, that actually mentioned the firmament in these documents. That's crazy.
They're telling us what they're doing. Some people say they have to tell us. I always say they have to tell us. And then some of the Catholic people say, well, it's ordained by God that they have to reveal all of this. Maybe they have to tell us because it's ordained. I mean, it goes together. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. The law of free will, they have to tell us what they're doing for whatever reason. And that's what they've been doing.
I just thought that was a really good presentation. He pulled together a ton of documents. If you haven't seen that, you got to go check that out. I know it's on the Globebusters channel. It's been mirrored on, it's on Robbie's channel. It's on a bunch of them. I did catch.
Just be careful exactly what you believe about Dean Odell. He did say that I'm the Antichrist and Missa is my foul-mouthed heathen wife, just for the record.
Oh,
Jaron.
Man, here we go. Of course. What do you know? Jaron's here.
Was listening in, and Dean Odell's was a good little summary of a lot of findings by other people.
I didn't say he discovered them.
I said he did a good job pulling it all together.
Yeah, a good presentation.
So don't you think, you guys, that we should find some test that is just definitive if we put all of our eggs in one basket?
All right, we lost Jay. He's got to bail out and come back.
Oh, okay.
So tell me about, you have an idea for a test?
Well, yes. I mean, besides my thread the needle test that I still think is a huge test if we can find the right laser to do it. I also had somebody who gave me an idea. He actually is the person who did the video on perspective. This is about a year ago. Did a great video on the channel called Research Royal Rife. And he did an excellent hour-long video about perspective that a lot of people mirrored. He messaged me this week and gave me the idea for a balloon test where you basically take 3 hot air balloons. And so I'm not talking about the helium balloons that people launch to near space. I'm talking about the ones with a basket that somebody stands in and, heats up the air and they rise up. So if we were to get 3 of these hot air balloons and they were, say, 15 miles apart. So you have a hot air balloon, 15 miles, another hot air balloon, and 15 miles, and then another one. So total distance between end to end would be 30 miles. In that distance, the Earth is supposed to curve something like 600 feet or 500 feet, something like that. But we know that the middle balloon would be on a hump 150 feet high. That's how big the hump is. So if that's true, we were thinking that couldn't we basically tie a rope to both of the end balloons to the basket where they're only allowed to go up 150 feet and they can go no higher. We kind of anchor them. So once both the end balloons are up 150 feet high, we leave the middle balloon on the ground. It would have its balloon filled, but it would be on the ground. And then you get like either a drone or a small airplane or something, even people on a mountainside, observing these 3 balloons. And if they look to be straight across from each other on a line, well, then that pretty much would show that the Earth is curved. And if, however, it looked like the balloons on the end were up higher and the one in the middle was down lower, that would prove a flat Earth. What do you think about that?
Explain where the camera would be.
Well, the camera would have to be in the middle, but off in the third person's perspective, because that's what we never get any experiments that do. If you looked from behind Lake Pontchartrain, you see what appears to be curve, which is actually just perspective and perceived drop. Well, that's what you would get when you're looking from a long distance. So if we were to take a camera to get behind the line of the 3 balloons, well, even if they were all on the ground, they're going to look like there's a perceived drop for the far balloon, but that's just because it's getting smaller in the distance. You have to take the view of a third perspective.
A side view from a third perspective?
Correct, like a perpendicular view.
So the problem with that is in the distance, when I look at New York City, which is 25 miles away across the water, the clouds look like they're the same height as the buildings. And I know that they're 10,000 feet over the buildings or 5,000 feet, whatever it is. So I think in distance, you're going to have a difficult time from a side point of view of actually seeing that. If you looked at it from one of the end balloons, looking across, you're saying that the balloon in the middle should be in line with the two end balloons that are up at 150 feet because there's a 150-foot hump between those two balloons.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point. I see what you're saying. You're saying that we'd break the line of symmetry if we did that, or the straight line if we looked from the end.
Well, if you look from the end, seeing a balloon 30 miles away, even though it's a big hot air balloon, is going to be very difficult. I'm looking at big buildings in New York City, and they're very, very small. So you would need a super zoom camera and a pretty clear day to get a good shot of it. The problem is, if you did it from the middle balloon, it would look like they're in line. Because when I look to my left, 20 miles down or whatever, the clouds over there and then the clouds on the opposite side look like they're in line with my head because perspective drops them down.
Right. So what we're doing by artificially creating that, but lifting one balloon up on the end and the other balloon up on the end, then does that middle balloon look lower? You're describing a scene where you're looking at level clouds all the way across.
Right. If I was at that middle balloon, the other two balloons would look to be in line from my point of view with the balloon that I'm standing next to on the ground, even though they're up at 150 feet.
Move perpendicular to the middle balloon. You're going to walk away, not walk. This is a kind of a mental picture, but you want to observe from the middle, the balloons on the two ends and the balloon in the middle. But you're walking, you're going to be probably, and I don't know that distance, 10 miles. You're going to be a certain distance away from the line of all three balloons. Here's a better way to describe it. If we were to line up those three balloons all completely north-south, okay, so let's say in probably California is going to be the best spot because especially where I live, there's a huge, the Central Valley is just a completely flat valley. So let's say we find the north-south line and we line up the three balloons on that north-south line. And so they're 30 miles total distance, 15 miles between each. And then to observe it, you go east or west and you go to the distance to where you can see the two balloons on the end. Does that make any more sense?
Yeah, the problem with that is 150 feet over even a quarter of that distance is going to be reduced to immeasurable from your eye. But the way to do it is actually put somebody in one of the end balloons with a P900 and zoom in on the other balloon. And if the middle balloon is below them, that proves that the Earth is flat. If the other balloon is right in line and he can see it in the same shot, then that proves that the Earth is a ball.
So are you saying that you're talking about keeping the second balloon on the ground still?
Yeah, keep the middle balloon on the ground, put the two end balloons up at 150 feet, and if the Earth is a ball, the bottom balloon should be on top of a 150-foot hump from those balloons' perspective. When he zooms in from one end balloon to the other, which you can do with a P900, you'll be able to pull it right into the screen. The other balloon should be in the shot, but if you can zoom right by it and not even get any of that balloon in, that proves that the Earth is flat.
I agree. That is
Thank you.
I do agree with that.
But we were talking about putting a drone up, but the drone wouldn't be able to see it because it doesn't have a zoom. You need somebody in the basket with a P900 and game over. So we need three balloons, a perfectly calm, perfectly clear day over a stationary flat water with people willing to do it. A little bit of logistical nightmare, but it could be done.
I think it could be done. And I think that, even you would put a person in each end balloon trying to shoot back together. So you even have both views, not just one. But you're right. So what we would expect to see is things getting smaller in the distance. So you should still see, let's say that we did it from the ground first. What you're going to see is the one person zooming into the next balloon, which is going to be a little lower and smaller. And then the third balloon would be even further back, lower and smaller. But once we got up, then they should be in line. Actually, the far balloon should be below the second balloon, but it won't be. It will be shined across. And if you go past that middle balloon and see the third balloon, well, then it should be in line, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I do like that idea.
I was dropped out of the call, guys, so I have no idea what's going on right now. But it sounds great. The last half of it sounds great.
That's actually good because now you'll actually have to listen to the final podcast when I upload it. Yeah, you'll have to actually listen.
Yeah. I heard the tail end of the balloon deal, and the only thing I would add, Dave, is that for the one that goes up to, what did you say, 150 feet high or so? So
Yeah.
what would be awesome if we could get one of those, a balloon that is not shaped round, that is actually like an inflatable cube, and paint the bottom red. Because if it's truly curved, then what we'll see as you get further and further away is you'll start seeing more of that red bottom because it's tilting away from you.
Excellent.
I've never seen a cubed hot air balloon.
Oh, you can make anything. You can make it with Visqueen.
Well, how about this? Then to make it even cheaper, we don't need a middle hot air balloon since we're never going to raise it off the ground. We can just make a cube and then fill it with helium.
Yeah, you could literally make a cube out of Visqueen and duct tape.
I don't know about Visqueen, but we need to ask the ornithologist what we should do.
Ah, yes. Did you hear that analogy, Jaron?
I did. It was good.
That was good. That was awesome.
I mean, I just think that's so silly.
The experiment with the thread the needle, as we're calling it. Do you see or foresee problems with that experiment?
It's so hard to predict what it'll be. You know they're going to have an issue. I just don't know. I can't think of one. I have thought about that one many, many times, Jaron, and I cannot think of what their response would be. So,
yeah, to me, it's just one of those experiments that even, the reason I love it so much is because it cannot be done if the Earth is curved, and if the Earth is flat, it has to be done. It's one of those experiments that I would walk away from despite everything that I've seen.
Quickly explain what thread the needle is for everybody.
Okay, so we have a canal here near my home, about an hour from me, that is 3.88 miles long, and it's calm water. The most that the tides affected is a foot over the course of the whole day. But you can do it in a 8-hour period of time where the tides wouldn't make a difference. We have all those numbers. But next to that canal is a road, and it's right up from the canal. It's right there, and the road goes the entire distance. We had a plan to put up panels at 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, and 3.888 miles, and then cut a 6-inch hole in each of the panels at the exact same height from the water surface, which is also very easy to get. We have an auto leveler, which you stick on the road. Turn it on. It kind of takes a second to level out, and then it shoots a beam out like a plane, a beam plane. And we have somebody standing at the water with a 20-foot 2x4 that's marked off with all the distances. And wherever that beam hits the 20-foot 2x4, which is just touching the surface of the water, that's your height that the road is at that point away from the water surface. So then we take that and add it to whatever the panel height is. When we went last time, it was 8 foot. And then we find a number that's agreeable. Last time it was 15 feet. At 15 feet on all these panels, there is a hole cut 6 inches big. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the starting position and you shoot a laser and you try and thread the needle. Go through the hole of each panel, hitting a back panel at 3.88 miles away. And what happened last time we did it is we hit the outside of the hole, obviously, because if you try and send a light through a panel hole, as long as none of the light hits any of the part of the hole, you're fine. As soon as it gets too big and hits part of the hole, it creates a interference pattern, which turns the beam into a mess. We called it a snow. It looks like snow, just is a mess. Well, after we hit I think it was about the second mile, hole, we just got an interference pattern. So we do think that if we would have hit the panel somewhere like the curved Earth would call for, say above the hole, well, we would have just seen a dot.
Yes.
There's no reason why we would see an interference pattern.
You wouldn't see the snow pattern, right?
Correct. But we kept getting a snow pattern, and you really can't. It's not like you can walk along the beam and see what exactly is happening. And it was night, and we had the documentary crew was there filming it, and so we just said, okay, we're going to come back and do this again, because basically we realized what the problem is that our beam is not staying in a small enough diameter. So there is lasers out there now. So far, the cheapest we found is 5 digits, but there is beams that can stay to a diameter of less than we want to keep it at 4 inches or less. This way, we're never getting close to touching the 6-inch holes at 3.88 miles. The FE core laser is actually, its specs are such that it should do that. And Mike Cavanaugh is going to test it in a couple weeks or 2 weeks, I think, and see what the beam is at 4 miles. If it is at less than 4 inches, he wants to fly out here to California and bring the laser, bring his SALAD device, which is the super accurate laser aiming device. Yes, I got that right. He wants to bring all that out here and do the canal test again. And my only concern is just simply if it is shown, what would be the baller's excuse? What is going to be their out?
Right.
And because I guess somebody might ask me, if it doesn't show that, Jaron, if you see the beam hitting the third panel or the second panel above the hole, what would you do? And, the honest answer there is I would double check our distance from the water. But, knowing and being there before and seeing that experiment, I don't think I could argue with that. I mean, if we've got the holes cut at a certain distance above the water line and you shoot that laser and it goes through the first hole, second hole, and on the third hole, it hits 2 feet above the hole and there's no way to thread the needle, I think it'd be hard to say that the Earth doesn't have curvature.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we got an email about a week or so ago from a listener who also proposed a test, and I answered him and said, here's what's missing from that test, because I had thought about it also, but I wanted to run it by you, Jaron, because in responding to him, I thought, that's not a bad test. So his initial email said, guys, I'm in Louisiana, Lake Pontchartrain. Why don't we just get a laser test going along the bridge, rather than over the water, just over the concrete bridge? And I told him, I said, because he said if the bridge is flat, then the Earth's flat. And I said, no, actually, you can build a flat bridge over a curved ball because the distance from the one side of the bridge to the other side would just be longer. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense at all? Like you would have to measure the surface of the water to the bottom of the bridge, let's say. And if you get 4 feet from the bridge to the water, it would have to remain 4 feet all the way down as you're measuring.
But that bridge is not built like that. Doesn't it have humps in it?
I don't know. We'd have to look and see. I think it's what we would call relatively flat. But my point is if you can find a flat section of that bridge, all you would need is 2 miles. You get a tripod, you level out your laser, you send it down the long ways of the bridge, going 2 miles to a board, and you mark your spot where the center of the laser hits that board. If it's at the same height, if you're on a 3 foot tripod and the light hits at 3 feet up, well, that's half your test. Then all you have to do is measure the bridge to the surface of the water. And it should be, what is that? 4 times, that should be 4 feet difference?
Here's my issue with that. Number one, I don't think you're going to be able to get on the bridge and shoot a laser because you're going to blind people. You're going to distract people. Number two would be that any test where you have to level anything, in my opinion, is a problem because any kind of bubble level, any kind of spirit level is not going to be perfectly accurate. The thread the needle example, it doesn't matter at all what angle the laser's at. It can't be used as part of the argument because you still, whether the laser is perfectly level or not, if you can get it to go through the holes at 3.88 miles away, there's no way that it has anything to do with it. You still threaded the needle. That's why I like that test. Whereas anything you have to level something, I think is you start to lose, then there's an excuse for somebody to say, well, the laser wasn't leveled. Well, this bridge wasn't leveled. This wasn't leveled. So I think that's where it gets tough.
Now, I can't think of any response to the thread the needle, Jaron.
I think thread the needle is on the top of the list. The balloons are second, and then getting the Louisiana State Police to allow us to shoot lasers and hang off the side of a public bridge. I think that's on the bottom of the list.
I mean, in Louisiana, with the politics down there, bro, if you got a few grand, we might be able to make that happen.
Maybe they can rent us a plane where we can grab a bunch of gold and then fly down to the South Pole and turn it in.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
During an eclipse.
Oh, don't start.
All right, Jaron, we have a little schedule to keep to here. We have some guests waiting to come on, so let us finish up and mute your mic and stay quiet.
Perspective. Let me switch the subject. Because I caught part of this video and it didn't really register with me. But the big thing earlier in the week was perspective is missing from the curvature formula. Would either of you two like to explain that to me so that I can digest that?
Right. So as things go into the distance, they shrink in size. So you can't expect a horizon that's just 3 miles from you and a building that's past that to maintain its size. So imagine this, doing a little experiment. You're on a ball and you have 10 feet of curvature in front of you. And you have a building that's 20 feet tall where you have a 10-foot hump in front of you. So you can only see the top 10 feet of the building. That hump is above your eye line. You with me, Jay?
Yeah.
So now stop the curvature, flatten it out. So now you have a flat earth from past that 10 feet of curvature. Slide that building away and it will quickly disappear behind that hump. So when you slide it away and the top 10 feet are now blocked by the hump, that's on a flat Earth. Now add the curve back in and see how much farther down it goes.
Yeah, I think I understand. I'm
going to actually do a physical experiment to show that globe has a much bigger problem than they realize with this curvature formula. The curvature formula is right. It's just things in the distance shrink down. So you can't expect. I'm looking at a building that's the size of my thumbnail because it's so far away. But the curvature is still there. If there was curvature, but there isn't. Did you see the video of we have Authentic Intent, who does amazing work. He stands there in the park. He talks to people for hours. He's handing out our flyers or Andrew Lank's flyers, the trifold that's on our website.
I thought that was awesome. He was really good at starting the conversation up with people and getting them actually into it.
Andrew is going to join us in a few moments with another new activist that's doing the same thing that Authentic Intent is doing. He also is doing a great job. I think he's out of Chicago.
Realm Walker, yes.
He's only has 216 subs. Let's talk to those guys and see what's going on.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get Authentic Intent and Realm Walker on to join us. We'll be right back.
Following announcement has been paid for by
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
You want to leave a digital voicemail for us? Head over to theflatearthpodcast.com and click on the blue link that reads, "Got a question? Send us a message."
You can do it from your iPhone or from your computer. First time you do it on your cellular phone, you'll have to download a little app. But after that, you can leave us all kinds of messages. If you want to be anonymous, you can make up a name, make up an email address. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say.
We'll do our best to play or answer these questions and comments on future episodes right here on the Flat Earth Podcast. Download the SpeakPipe app and check us out at theflatearthpodcast.com.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
If you're watching this audio on YouTube right now and you're not familiar with the world of podcasting, there's a far better way to listen to the Flat Earth Podcast each and every week.
Think of it like your TiVo or your DVR is to your television. You subscribe to whatever show that you like. Whenever a new episode comes out, it records it, downloads it, and notifies you that there's a new episode for easy listening anywhere. Another great feature on most podcast players is you could speed up if you want to hear stuff even faster, or more importantly, it has a jump back and jump forward 30 seconds so you could skip annoying announcements like this.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and so many more. If we're not on your favorite podcast app, send us a message and let us know to make sure we will be.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
All right, back with us here on the Flat Earth Podcast. And I believe we've got someone joining us. Dave is our guest with us now.
Yes, we have Andrew from Friends of Yahweh channel. Some of you might remember him. Last week, I believe we played his song, which is Round and Curvy, one
Yes.
of a classic pop tune about the flat earth.
Yeah.
And he also is the one that did the space mission with the astronaut, and then he took a Mars break, which was kind of funny. He's also Harrison Hanks, the Crisis actor, and he's also
The Crisis actor is my favorite.
and he's also a scientist in Antarctica that tried to debunk Jaren with the 24-hour sun. Another hysterical video. So, Andrew, are you with us?
I am with you. How's it going, guys?
What's happening, man?
It's going good, man. I have a question. Your YouTube channel name is Friends with Yahweh.
Friend of Yahweh.
Yeah.
Friend of Yahweh.
Who says?
Exactly. No, and I do want to clarify that because I honestly think that Yahweh's a much better friend to us than we are to him pretty much all the time. So we're all learning. We're all trying to grow.
I just think it's a little presumptuous to say
Oh, God.
to name your channel that. Okay.
Yeah,
how
I
about
hear that.
wannabe Friends with Yahweh? That would be better.
That sounds good, man.
All right.
I like it.
Welcome on the Flat Earth Podcast. Andrew also is the designer behind the trifold that is downloadable on the flatearthpodcast.com on our FE artwork page, which the reason we're having Andrew on today is I watched the Authentic Intent and Realm Walker by chance in a row. and they were handing out the flyers. I'm like, this is fantastic. And people were looking at them, and it's really making a difference. So Andrew, awesome job on that flyer.
Thanks a lot. And yeah, actually, the reason I even made the brochure was because I kind of teamed up with Realm Walker, who does really cool illustrations. He contacted me through YouTube about 7 months ago. He said, if you need help on anything, so we're collaborating on a short film, music video about an 11-year-old boy waking up to flat Earth. It's going to be really cool. It's called Nevermore, and it's kind of chill, kind of poetry based, and it's going to be really awesome. It's almost done, so look for that. It's called Nevermore.
How long is it?
It's about, I would say, 3.5 minutes.
Nice.
Okay.
And it's been a ton of work. Yeah, I know. 7 months for 3.5 minutes. So it's my worst, as far as like putting in time.
You woke up an 11-year-old and it took 3.5 minutes?
No. The whole story is laid out, and he confronts his teacher, and so I think it kind of speaks to what's going on right now.
When is this coming out?
I would say realistically within 3 weeks.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool, and I think it'll be something to show family, show kids, and maybe they can relate to it. Because Dave and I have talked, and it seems like the people that are waking up the fastest are like the millennials and the younger kids, because they're not as indoctrinated into the whole globe thing.
If it's anything like any of your other videos, man, there's a lot of detail, a lot of work into every little scene.
The video production that Andrew puts out is second to none. It's awesome.
Ridiculous.
It really is.
That's not true, but thank you.
It is. And, you mentioned the millennials. I don't know if you heard, we mentioned this on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but something that hit the AP wire, there was a survey done where Flat Earth was in the news once again, where they said that 1/3 of millennials do not believe that the Earth is round.
And that's crazy. I mean, that means the number's higher. The fact that they would report 1/3.
Exactly. It's probably higher. And they meant it as an insult. They were trying to pour water on the fire, so to speak, with Flat Earth by sending this out to the older crowd in their news sources to kind of say, oh, millennials are stupid. Look, they believe the Earth is not round. You know what I mean? It's the old, like Obama. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We don't have time for a meeting of Flat Earth Podcast. A Flat Earth Podcast. But trying to equate Flat Earth with millennials now.
Right.
But that is the group that's waking up the quickest.
They just don't get it, man. And, like Mark Sargent had somebody on, maybe you guys can correct me on the story, but somebody called in and they said it's just like wildfire. Like the kids in one Minnesota school at different ages, they were confronting the teacher about it.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm kind of out of touch with that crowd. I'm looking forward to, several years from now when my kids are at that age to hear all about it firsthand. You know what I mean? Because I think that's awesome. And I think it's only going to pick up steam in the next 5 or 6 years.
One thing I've been thinking about is that we're going to have to deal with is when this finally comes out, we're going to have to deal with our family turning to the very people who've perpetrated the lie to go, why'd you do it? They need to turn to us. It's going to be pretty frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy is what it's going to be.
Yeah. I was talking to a family member it was probably in the last 10 days about the Flat Earth topic, because they know how I feel about it. And I've presented the case to them and they're pretty much on board. They were asking me, they said, but where do you see this going? Is NASA going to admit it or anything? And I said, in my lifetime, and this is just my opinion, I don't think NASA will ever, or any government authority or mainstream news will ever admit this. I said, but I think where the victory will happen is that they'll continue to do their space charades all over TV and form their space forces, et cetera. But the percentage of the population who knows that they are full of crap is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow to the point where, I literally think that 10 years from now, half the people will just be rolling their eyes at it.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, if we get to that, even if no mainstream news ever admits this or NASA never comes forward and confesses, I still think it's a victory if that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
NASA's just going to disappear and not exist, and everyone's going to die off, and they're just going to change the narrative and pretend it never happened. And we literally live in the dark ages right now. In a couple of years, even, it could be less, it's not far from now. We're going to look back and say, do you remember when everybody believed we lived on a spinning water ball?
Oh, God. I mean, what should wake up people the most, and I've pointed this out to my family members, my mom, I said, look at how much propaganda is going into the TV commercials. I mean, it's every other commercial has a kid with a freaking space helmet, rattling on his head. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I every time I've talked to a young boy that's in elementary school, if I'm at a gathering, whatever, and I tell them, hey, you want to know something they'll never teach you in school, which makes their eyes light up like, what? I'm like, the earth is not a ball. It's flat. Their eyes pop out of their head. They're like, no, it isn't. And they start spewing the indoctrination. I'm like, how do you know all of these things that you're saying? They start so young.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, Jay, I can't believe, because I've listened to every one of your podcasts. I basically binged them because I didn't know it existed until about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, awesome.
And I cannot believe you don't tell your son what is going on. You just let this kind of play out in front of you, which that's totally your choice. And maybe you can talk about why.
My sons are they just turned 6. And so they've already finished kindergarten. They're going to go into first grade next year. Honestly, man, I don't think it's right yet. Like if they were more mature at this age, maybe be different. But
I can see it.
Heads can handle the backlash, the contradiction they're going to get from the school if they ever said it out loud. And I just, we just moved to the area about a year ago, so they're making new friends. And man, the last thing I want to do is start them off on being the weird kid in class, but I can't wait until they are ready. So I try to just put doubt in their head about everything science related.
I actually had ordered a book for you. This girl, Suzanne Borrow, I think her last name. She's somewhere from across the plane. Excuse me, Suzanne, I forget where you are. She made a children's book and sent it out for publishing, but there's a little copyright issue with a couple images that she's working on. But it's about a kid who discovers that the earth is flat. It's a children's book.
Wait a minute. This is our film Nevermore. Hold on.
I need her. I actually have the PDF of the book because I'm seeing if I can help her do it. Hey, I hear another voice on with us.
I think Steve is here.
Yeah. It's Realm Walker.
I just discovered your channel, and you did a phenomenal job out there, like a seasoned pro, walking around with the zombies, trying to wake them up, trying to hand them a brochure. Hey, you ever investigate, the shape of the earth? Here's a brochure. Check it out. It doesn't hurt to think. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm a zombie, and I'm going to stay a zombie. You walked into that weird zone where you couldn't get anybody. It was very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And how's the flyer working out? The trifold?
Oh man, it's so much better because just handing that out gives it a lot easier to explain the topics and without having anybody pop you off with 30 questions. So it's beautiful. It makes my life so much easier.
Yeah. How often are you going out doing this activism?
We've been keeping it about once a week. For the most part.
Awesome. You go out for a few hours and
yeah, we do a whole day. Yeah.
Where do you go? Where are you? You're in Chicago?
Yeah.
He's done Willis Tower. I saw that one.
Yeah, we got kicked out of that one.
One guy, was it a restaurant owner that said tried to you can't be doing this on the street or something, you need a permit?
Yeah, it was some sort of art opening or something like that, and they were hanging outside, and we were just walking down the sidewalk, and he approached us and basically tried to remove us from the situation really quickly. But we're like, hey, we're within a right because this is a public sidewalk, so
I saw on your channel on the channel is Realm Walker. All is in one word, no space, folks. For you, those of you who want to check it out, it's awesome. I did see one of them that I haven't watched yet because it was like an hour long, and I didn't have time before we started recording. But it was Nicolas Cage was the thumbnail.
Yeah,
and it's the celebrity flat smack. You got to tell listeners. Tell us. Go ahead. What happened?
Oh, so we were just walking in basically a little bit outside the Wicker Park area, and we just ran into this guy who was, I'm convinced, looked either like Nicolas Cage himself or his blood relative, But we caught him at a weird time, so we were crossing the street, so we didn't really get a chance to speak too much. So it was like a quick, hey, how's it going, kind of thing. So
Hey, just be honest. This was total bait click.
Yeah, it was clickbait.
Wasn't it?
clickbait.
it was. I mean, I don't think it was him, but if it's like one of those things where you saw him and you're like, whoa. That's totally the guy. And then I saw him, I was like, I had to question it,
Just so you guys know, there are some super AAA listed celebs talking flat earth. Can't give up their names right now, but they are talking flat earth, meeting with flat earthers. It was the big talk at the Oscars party.
Who are they meeting with? Like, who are they contacting? Like Jeranism?
They met with some top flat earthers because they love it. They discovered it. It was big talk at the Oscars party. And if I told you the names of the ones that are talking about it, you would be like,
wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. I think that 2018, winning 2018. By the time the November conference comes around, we might even have some celebs there.
Yeah.
So we will see. Any celebs out there that want to come, I have VIP tickets on me. Reach out to me at theflatearthpodcast.com. Leave us a speak pipe and you are in.
Done.
If Nicolas Cage leaves a speak pipe, we're playing that every week, by the way.
Hey, even if you're not a celeb and you sound like one, just go ahead and leave us one and we'll pretend it's you.
Can I leave my speak pipe that I always wanted to leave, like right now?
Of course.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Son of an astronaut! Because that's what I was thinking when I was listening to that whole damn interview. The blue board that he gets busted is so obvious that it's, some kind of blue screen, green screen.
Oh, yeah.
And some kind of motion capture tracking. And he that's just a scientific experiment to show how far the ball travels. Just total out of his ass.
We're talking about the interview with Scott V. M. Scott.
Yeah.
It was on the last episode. Yeah. Glad you guys brought that up because I was going to ask Dave on the opening segment, but it totally slipped my mind. What was the feedback? Did you get any good feedback on the interview with Scott?
A lot of people liked his kindness and his not arguing. They loved the way you handled him and Jaron handled him, and they gave me a lot of crap for the shit I gave him because I felt that you guys were being too nice and somebody had to be the bad guy. But he handled it so well. He was so nice. I would like to shake his hand one day, even though he's living in a delusional world, but he believes it's real. So you can't blame him.
I thought that was great how you put that on him every 5 seconds.
And what I put on him?
that he's delusional.
Well, it's not his fault.
And for anybody out there who commented that on Dave's brashness, just know it could have been a lot worse.
That's true. But I missed the greatest line at the beginning when he mentioned that he works in Hollywood, and I should have said, "Oh, following in your father's footsteps."
Oh God. So good.
But I didn't.
Yeah, that would have been rough. That'd have been rough.
Scott, I know you're listening. Thanks for coming on. You were 3 against 1. I don't look at it as against. I look at it as we were having a conversation. You did really well. And if I was mean, just because I'm a little mean, but I apologize.
And guys, I'm kind of shocked at how many speak pipes you get from ball earthers. I mean, they're listening. they're actually interested.
So we have a lot of new fans from WWE, from Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
There's a new interview coming out with myself and Russian Vids with Chris Jericho. Should be out any day now as of the recording of this. And it is a groundbreaker.
David, I gotta say that Jericho video is probably the best one you've ever put out as far as information for the flat Earth community, because that is a knock 'em dead, straight up, everything.
It's so good.
What makes it good is Chris listened and he asked good questions.
I know.
And that's it. I mean, to find to do an interview of somebody that wants to debate me, I'm really not interested in that. The debates never go anywhere because they're just stuck in their position. Chris was, okay, instead of saying the Earth can't be flat because it would be light every day, he would say, on a flat Earth, how does day and night work?
Explain that. Yeah.
And by the way, for now that that's up, we get a lot of crap on our videos that the videos I put up on my channel and on the podcast. People say that we're deleting all of the comments that don't agree with us. Absolutely not. I love comments that don't agree with us, that actually ask a question. Like, hey, you said this, but I don't believe this is real because this and this and this. But that's not what we get. What we get is you guys are retarded and the Earth is a ball, and you're wrong about that because of something nonsensical. Right. I don't have time for that. If you want to put and I'll take a opposing question and I'll pin it to the top of the page and respond to it. We don't delete comments unless they're just nonsensical garbage. And there's a lot of AI bots and trolls in there. We get bot attacks in the comments. It's unbelievable. They don't even make sense, some of them, but they're just doing that to divert the conversation.
Guys, how do you both of you, Andrew and for the Realm Walker, is Steve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you guys handle comments on your channels?
I just leave them up. Sometimes when they're really violent, I'll take them down. But if it's just silliness, I'll leave it up and let the people see it.
I'm okay with silliness. It's just stuff that doesn't serve a purpose, doesn't educate anybody. I'm all about questions. Ask a question. Say, I don't understand how this works. Or to me, this proves that the Earth is a ball because X, Y, and Z. That's what I'm looking for.
Talking to Steve today about the whole activism thing, and I mean, the people who are out there doing it, they deserve a lot of credit. But maybe everybody doesn't have the best style, and we can kind of sit back and armchair quarterback, and which we're all guilty of that. But
I just want to throw a little shout out to John Smith Globe Lie and Authentic Intent, because they're doing stuff,
Josh, Authentic Intent, he killed it on his last video. And at the end, did you hear his rant at the end about the Jewish gentleman and family that walked by?
No.
So I'll give you just a quick rundown. The guy looked at him. He said the guy looked at him like, when he said, hey, do you know that the Earth is flat? He looked at him like, of course I know the Earth is flat. And and he gave him a look like, how dare you talk about it like it was a secret. And Josh kind of went off Eric Dubay style. And it was fascinating.
I didn't see that part.
And I will link that somewhere so you guys, but just check out Authentic Intent and watch his videos, because it'll give you the courage to go out there and talk to other people.
I can't say enough. I love watching Authentic Intent. And what's the other one you just mentioned, Steve?
John Smith Globe Lie.
Yeah, John Smith Globe Lie, man. I just love those, man. Just talking to everyday normal people. Hats off to you guys that are doing that. That is incredible.
Thank you. I mean, these guys were doing it way before me. So, yeah.
Have you seen anyone get totally triggered yet?
Oh, yeah. I have one on my channel where this lady basically almost pushed me out into oncoming traffic. Well, she didn't, but she sort of got abrasive and then had a stance like she was going to move towards me. And then I kind of said some stuff to try to diffuse it, Yeah, it gets pretty heated out there, I got to say.
You got to just keep your cool, and both of you guys do that very well.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, and Flat Earth City, that's my homie. He does all the stuff with me, and his channel's amazing, too, so.
The question I was going to ask both of you guys, and Dave, I hadn't asked you in a while, but I think you kind of gave your answer a second ago. But I mentioned just a few minutes ago where I thought this was going. Where do you guys see flat Earth and the world we live in as it pertains to flat Earth in, let's say, 5 to 10 years from now?
I kind of feel like the tipping point is pretty close. So I don't know. Maybe by then.
Do you think we'll ever get any sort of admission or confession out of the authorities?
Oh, I don't think so. I think if it does happen, it's going to be on the side of the public. So it's not going to come from government. So, yeah.
Correct.
I'm kind of wondering where the WikiLeaks style data dump is, the real map, this sort of thing.
I kind of liken it to
Don't you want to hear what I think is going to be in 5 or 10 years?
Don't you want to hear what I think is going to happen? I come from the biblical perspective, i.e., friend of Yahweh. So
Alleged friend of Yahweh.
I.e., the alleged friend of Yahweh. And coming from the biblical perspective, I think we're about 6.5 years away from Messiah returning, frankly. Like, I've watched the videos on the 923, all of the coding in the music videos and, the media and films they put out. You guys know about that?
No.
Yeah. So last September 23rd, they had all this coding leading up to that 923.
Okay.
And it basically kicks off. It's referring to Revelation, how the constellations and, goes into the womb and comes out. And so all of this would kick off the tribulation, the 7-year tribulation. So that's my perspective. I think things are moving really fast, and I think the elite really can't help themselves. Dave and I were talking about this today. It just seems like it's kind of like they're Pharaoh, not letting not letting Israel go, and just allowing all these plagues to come on them. They're controlled in a sense by our Creator to have all this play out, and that's kind of how I see it.
Wow.
In 5 to 10 years from now, after the plague and the power maybe starts to come back on, there's going to be about 400 million people left in the world and no one will know anything.
Wow.
Start from scratch.
Well, now I'm depressed.
And the extraterrestrials will come out.
And they will be teaching Ball Earth and nobody will remember any of this.
Well, we're going to be fine with the ETs, guys. We have Space Force.
That I think that we're really pushing the awakening is really there and the elite can't stop it. And once enough people wake up to flat Earth, everyone's eyes are going to open to everything. And the power structure is going to change. What that involves is it's going to be messy, but it's going to be good.
And Jay, I think you're right, man, not telling your kid, because I'm 42. And if I'd known this, 36 years ago or whatever, I don't know, it would have been a crazy life, to just the last 10 years and 15 years of awakening to, 9/11, UFOs, all this crap.
We just think when you're 5 or 6 years old, I don't think you're mentally, not always. I mean, some kids are way more mature than others, but I don't think the average 5 to 6 year old is equipped mentally to defend it and to talk about it the right way and to even understand why different authority figures are giving them different stories. I think they can be really confusing.
I would say break the truth when you tell them Santa Claus doesn't exist. So that way they're just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and Earth is flat.
Hey, Johnny, Santa Claus doesn't exist. And guess what? The Earth is flat. Your teacher's a liar. And and it's all nonsense.
They're going to remember that day forever.
and then take his globe and smash it.
Yeah, I think the flat Earth is going to be like 9/11 in the fact that I saw something a few years ago that said that of those surveyed that were under the age of 40, it was something crazy. 55, 60% doubted the official story of 9/11.
Yeah.
I don't care if that number ever gets to 95. I just don't see the authorities ever even acknowledging it at all.
I think I said on the show before that I don't think there's a single flat earther that doesn't know that 9/11 was a false flag Hollywood event.
It's a gateway drug.
I mean, look at the way the planes went into the buildings. It was like a hot knife through butter. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
On a different note, Dave, did you have something you wanted to mention? You had a run-in with the Flat Earth Man recently?
So I was, I think it was on Glowbusters chat a couple weeks ago. We're in the chat and he was in there and we bust each other's balls a little bit. I said, I think he called me something. He called me a tranny, I think. So I said, hey, you guys want to know something about Flat Earth Man? I said, he doesn't write any of his tunes. And people were like, really? Who writes them? I said, me and Curious Jay write all of his music. And people, and then I timed him out because I'm a mod, so he can't type anything for 5 minutes. And I'm like, come on, speak up. If it's not true, say something, And he's not saying anything. Bling Bling from the ISS channel. She's like, really? Oh my God. I go, and that dog Eddie, it's not even his dog. It's his neighbor's dog, right? And he is flipping out. So the other day he Skyped me and we were trading insults and I'm a formidable insulter. I'm a great ball buster. He was going toe to toe with me. It was pretty funny. Finally, he said he's going to be on the Sun and Moon group later that day. And I said, I'll be there trolling you. And so I show up halfway through the show and I start saying a few things and people are like freaking out. And he sees me in the chat and he goes, there's Dave. He goes, I wrote a poem about him. You guys want to hear it? And I'll play it for you guys right now. It was pretty good. It's about 2 minutes. You guys, you want to hear it?
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. And Alex, hats off. A formidable opponent in the ball busting arena. Here we go.
I'm going to have to put this to bed. You see, look, there goes David Weiss again saying, look, his real voice, shall I say, is very gayish.
Oh. No.
He's still pissed off at me because I called him a name a couple of weeks ago, and then he started claiming the rights to my songs. And I actually wrote him a little poem. I don't know if anybody wants to hear it.
Sure.
I'm sure Dave does.
Well, yeah, I was joking with him. I called him a transsexual in the chat. He didn't like it very much. He put me on a timeout, and we've been
Alex, do the same back, man. Put him in a timeout and then slag him too.
We've been sending abusive messages to each other, but it's all done in the greatest possible taste. And here's a poem that Flat Earth Man wrote about about an hour ago. Here we go. Well, once I met this guy and his name was David Weiss. At first, I thought that David, was pretty nice. But he came on this show and started talking out his ass. And I went off that guy pretty fast. He told all the people that I don't write my own songs. Why the hell would he do that, man? I mean, that's just wrong. I was only kidding when I called him a transgender. I just typed it in the chat. I didn't mean to offend her. And now everybody thinks the Flat Earth Man is just a fraud and that David Weiss is just some kind of Flat Earth god. Well, I'm here to tell you people that I write all my own tunes and David didn't write them. He must be some kind of loon. See, I was listening just last week when I heard David say that all my songs were written by himself and Curious Jay. Well, I'd be surprised if he could even write his own name with all of that estrogen running through his veins. See, I have it on good authority that he wants to be a chick. And I know that one day he's going to remove that tiny dick. Eventually he'll change his name to something real nice. And we'll listen to the Flat Earth Podcast with Curious Jay and Davina Woes.
That's so awesome, funny. Man. Oh my God, David is in the chat. Is he?
you need to record that. I'm telling you.
I guess that's what happened.
If he carries on, I'm going to make it into a song.
No.
Tell Porky Pies, David. You told me that you wrote his songs.
He's just said, touche, I concede. I love you, brother. I love you, man.
Yeah, he really had me believing it, though. I'm such a dunce.
Well, Dave's always been very nice on our channel.
He's a good guy. He's doing more for Flat Earth than anyone else.
Wow. Dave, is there something you need to tell us?
I'm good.
So that's awesome.
Alex is a good guy with that fake British accent and his neighbor's dog.
Or have you already talked about the potential debate?
I am trying to get onto the Howard Stern show, not to have a debate. Howard Stern brought up Flat Earth I live in the same town with Gary, the producer, and we're friends. And I am saying that I'm the guy. If he wants to talk about flat Earth, you got a local guy right here that can explain how they've completely misrepresented it, like all the media does, but they did it even worse than anybody. If I can get on the Howard Stern show, that would be pretty big.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
The Jericho thing, I thought that was a home run, but geez, Stern.
Yeah.
It would be pretty huge. And I'm not going to tell people what to think. I'm just going to tell them there's a question out there. Look over here, look over there, make up your own mind.
Steve, when you're out there on the streets, what have you found to be, or is there any particular point that really registers with people?
One of the biggest things that seems to work with me is just pointing out the navigation and the Antarctic Treaty. That's like my go-to, because I found that like 80% of the people never even heard of it. Just putting that in their mind is good, because it gives them a chance to weigh the reality of what's really going on. If they don't know that it exists, then they're not going to make an educated guess on what it is.
Do you send them to the Taboo Conspiracy Antarctica is Closed video if they want more information? That's a great one.
No, but I should, because that's the best. Yeah.
Did you see somebody broke it down into a meme?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's like a flow chart of what you would have to do to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, I need to put that on my Instagram.
First do this, then do this, and then you'd have to go to this. And if they say no, you go to this. It's all in one little meme, and it's unbelievable. I think that's a good one too. And you're right. I would say more than 80. I think that the only people really that are actually aware of the Antarctic Treaty are the flat earthers. Like nobody's aware of that.
True. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are into the flat earth that I've talked to, but more of like a passing situation.
The average person on the street, you're right, has no clue that the Antarctic Treaty even exists.
I like how you ask them, what is your main proof that we live on a globe? And you let them answer it, so you can give them, rather than just throw, hey, there's no curvature, hey, this, hey, that, you let them tell you so you can address it directly.
Yeah, because if they're not even thinking about why they think it's a ball, then that's a problem. So people need to think about that. Yeah.
I love asking people that question and then watching their eyes go in their head, trying to figure out why they think. And they're like, I have no idea because my teacher told me.
Yeah, they say, because you won't fall out the edge. That's why. Oh, okay.
I have a bunch of trolls that are on my channel, and one of them says, you don't even have any education in astronomy. And I thought about it. I took 4 years of astronomy in college. I had access to a giant telescope, and that was my favorite course in college. And it's a complete waste of 4 years.
Hey, so Dave, I want to put in my vote for, you guys were talking about going north or south. South, it's, it's a nice shore. It's cold. I want to go north. That's my vote. North. What about you, Steve?
Oh, definitely north. Yep.
So, yeah, you guys were talking about there's birds that migrate north.
Right.
Can you tell me more about that? Because that is really fascinating.
I think it's called the Ross, R-O-S-S gull, G-U-L-L, Ross gull. It's a bird up there in the northern regions that they discovered. Yeah, it migrates once a year and it goes north.
And let me guess, nobody's allowed to track it.
They've had difficulty. Last I heard, they've had difficulty tracking it.
Maybe it's because it's going to the inner Earth.
No, that's where I first heard about the Ross gull, was way back in the day when, prior to Flat Earth, when Hollow Earth started showing up a little bit. Because there's a lot of similarities in the two, in the fact that they both say the satellite footage is all a lie. They both say that the North Pole is not what we're told. Antarctica is not what we're told. But yeah, that was a very fascinating point that I learned back then, was about the Ross gull that migrates north every year from the north. It goes, from the Finland and Svalbard and all those areas. It goes north from there, and they don't know where it's going.
It's in the Arctic archways.
That's where I got my start in the flat earth, was in 2013, the inner earth, hollow earth theory and all that stuff.
I heard about the hollow earth, Steve, prior to Flat Earth, and I guess it was probably 13 or 14.
Yeah, it was 13. Yeah.
And then it was like a year later that the Flat Earth came along, and I ignored it for a while, and then here we are now.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what the hell I said, but it's in the Arctic estuaries.
There you go. And for those of you who don't know, on a previous podcast, Dave and Jaron and myself were all discussing whether if we could have it any way we wanted, whether we would go to the North Pole or we would go to the South Pole. I said North. I think Jaron and Dave said South, and I'm glad you guys said North too.
Yeah.
I want to see what's up there in the middle. You guys think there's a big magnetic rock up there?
Oh yeah.
I think there is.
I was just showing somebody the maps. I've got those, those old Mercator maps, and got about 5 of them that are framed on my wall at the house.
Nice.
And I was just showing somebody earlier those maps with the detailed North Pole.
Yeah, now so there's supposed to be like 4 continents surrounding the northern magnet, I guess, right?
Correct. Yeah, 4. It almost forms a circle, and it's 4 large islands, I guess, that form a circle, and they're separated by rivers. The 4 massive rivers that go through there, and then each river, when it gets to the outside, breaks off into like multiple smaller streams.
Right.
Hey, I have a theory about what's on those islands. One of the 4 is known as Roscoe Island, and then the other 3 are Pedo Island, A, B, and C. And that's where the elite go.
Oh, Roscoe.
I thought it was North Korea.
I was just showing somebody those today, though, and I'm convinced that if we could go up there, we wouldn't believe our eyes, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, we got to pass the Aurora Borealis or something like that. So who has been the closest to the Aurora? Are there any explorers that made it that far north? Does anybody know?
Before becoming a flat earther, who wants to go to the North Pole? We all saw that video, which I've talked about many times, with the National Geographic guys, again, Nat Geo, here to deceive, is showing the guys that get to the North Pole and almost die of exposure, and it's dark, it's windy, it's snowy, and their hands are frozen. Who wants to go to the North Pole? I don't believe I don't believe it's anything like that.
So Dave, I've been thinking about this. If it is a different climate at the North Pole, how do you reconcile the fact that it's freezing, and then it gets warmer? Is it something to do with electromagnetics or water being pulled in, or what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I don't know. That's a lot of speculation there. Maybe there's another sun there. I don't know.
I wanted to bring something up because I'm writing the script for this has been in the works now for forever.
An 11-year-old boy who wakes up to flat Earth. We get it.
No, I'm writing the script for a video on magnetic declination. In it, I'm explaining some stuff about the North Pole. I want to read a couple points and then the little conclusion that I just pulled up here.
Before you go, explain what magnetic declination is to the people that don't know.
Okay, so magnetic declination is this. When you take a compass in your hand and you say the needle goes to the north, right? Science says that there's a difference between magnetic north and true north. If you pull up a magnetic, go to Google and type in magnetic declination world map. And what you'll find is all over the world, they'll have different numbers like 5, 10, 15, 30, in different areas of the world. So in most of the US, it's like 0 to 5. Okay. Maybe some are 10. But what that means is if you're in an area that says 5 degrees adjustment, that means that where your compass is pointing north, that's not really north. It's 5 degrees east or west of there.
Huh.
And to me, it's a crock of crap. I mean, it's total crap.
The compass is pointing to the true north, but they're telling us it's somewhere else, right?
Yeah, they're telling us that it's off a little bit. And when you get down to what's really interesting is when you get down to the southern oceans and the southern region, Australia and things like that, it's off by not like 5 degrees. It's off by like anywhere from 60 to 180 degrees. They literally tell you if you're sailing, below Australia somewhere, Wherever your compass says north is, you need to adjust it by like 90 degrees. So yeah, as far as magnetic declination goes, I think that it is the decoder key for when they made the flat Earth map into a globe. In the presentation, I'm talking about the North Pole, which is what we were just talking about, guys. Made a couple points here to say that a quick study of mapping the lands of high latitude regions, north and south polar areas, will reveal that all exploration was done by a handful of individuals, all working for or commissioned by the elite of their time. The slightest bit of research into this topic will demonstrate that the scientific field of geodesy was ruled like a monarchy. In more recent times, in the 20th century, special forces from the military were put in charge of occasional operations which would take measurements at high latitudes. Such operations were few and far between and always shrouded in an ambience of high secrecy. In conclusion, what I'm getting at here, I'm putting forward that no bona fide, transparent, scientific effort may have ever occurred truly establishing these polar positions on Earth in precisely the places where actual observations of the stars could reveal very significant latitude and longitude disparities compared to the computation of triangulation towers and GPS results that are all adjusted on the terms of the ball model. Did you guys follow that?
Wow.
I don't think that a real scientific exploration of the North Pole has ever been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an independent one, at least.
You know what you just said about Australia being like 90 degrees off. I mean, there's your point. Like maybe Australia's not where they say it is.
Well, and don't quote me because I'm not looking at the actual map, but if you Google magnetic declination world map, you can find out exactly what it is. But it's something that when you get into the southern oceans, it is insane the differences.
So when you look at the AE map, you can't wrap that around a ball without cutting out huge swaths of ocean. You'd have to cut out a whole bunch of pizza wedges to wrap that around the underside of a ball. So, but when we look at the lines of latitude, they're all perfectly straight lines. So when you look at Australia, Australia goes through 4 time zones, I think it is, and the U.S. It's wider than it's twice as wide as it should be because it's out there with those straight lines. What if those lines bent and squished together and didn't keep spreading out? And then on the other side, they bent and squished together, and there's your pizza wedge that's missing. And nobody would ever know because when you're flying out there or on a boat, you're using GPS, and it's going to steer you away from those pizza wedge slices of ocean.
Yes.
Yeah, they're steering you in a different direction.
And that would account for the magnetic declination lie to hide that also.
Wow.
Yeah. So like if you're in the ocean, it's the ocean area. I'm looking at it right here. If you're in the ocean, let's say between the southern tip of Africa and Antarctica, as you go south from the tip of Africa, you're at -30 adjustment, -40 adjustment, -50 when you get to the halfway mark, -60. And by the time you get to the coast of Antarctica, you're supposed to adjust your compass by 70 degrees. When you get further south into Antarctica, that's when the hundreds start flipping. That's when it starts going nuts.
Huh.
Yeah, the farther out you go, the more they have to hide what they're hiding.
Yeah, when you get into areas like the northern part of Asia, before the ocean, the Arctic Ocean starts, it's at like 150 degrees adjustment. I mean, that's ludicrous. And the sailors, prior to the invention of magnetic declination, they got around just fine. So we're to believe that we're supposed to adjust our compasses by anywhere from 10 to 150 degrees to get the true north, accurate north. But the sailors back then didn't have to, and they made it around just fine and made beautiful maps of the world. I say BS. And I think that magnetic declination, if I can ever get this damn video produced, it's like the smoking gun of all smoking guns. That was my synopsis of magnetic declination. Due to the technical difficulties, we're going to go ahead and Andrew and Steve have to run. Andrew, Steve, you guys want to plug anything?
What we are working on right now is it's coming soon, but it's flatsmacker.com. It is really cool flat earth stickers. And what we're doing is Steve's designing them, drawing them, and we are just creating really cool flat earth stickers that active flat earthers, activists can buy in lower quantities, but at bulk pricing. So we're we're investing the money and buying, a ton of stickers, and then we can sell them in lower quantities at a really good price, at the same price that we, so like maybe 14 cents per sticker. The way I look at it is you put up a sticker and, maybe 10 people will see it. And so what's 14 cents to like change somebody's life? It's pretty awesome. So
Yeah, exactly. So what else? We're just trying to produce some media for, flat earth activists out there who are out there just trying to get the word out. And that's what's important. So from pamphlets to stickers to in the future, any sort of apparel or maybe even something bigger and better. So yeah, the point is help get the word out.
That's perfect. So we're having massive technical difficulties. We lost Jay again, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys again when I said goodbye to you guys when you couldn't hear me before. And we will catch you later. Keep on flat smacking everybody.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you.
thank you guys. Love you guys.
All right, we'll be back with some speak pipes in a minute, maybe.
Hey, what's going on, people? Flat Earth Man in the house. I want to talk to you about the Flat Earth International Conference. But before I do, let me tell you that all you're watching is a puppet show. Yeah, the whole world's a stage. Astronauts, they're just actors, of course, and yeah, they all get paid. Look at me, I'm floating in space. No, you're not. You're lying to the whole human race. All you're watching is a puppet show, yeah. Hey, what's going on, people? Flat Earth Man in the house.
Hey, what's going on, people? Conspiracy Music Guru right here with DITRH on the Flat Earth Podcast and preparing for the Flat Earth International Conference on the 15th and 16th of November in Denver, Colorado. Very much looking forward to it. Got a couple of songs to showcase. I'm going to be playing live as well, flying all the way from Spain, and I cannot wait. It is going to be the most amazing thing you've ever been to if you want to understand a little bit more about this reality. If you're flat curious, or if you are well-versed in the flat earth conspiracy, then we can't wait to see you. It's going to be one hell of a conference.
If you're a full-on flat earther or just discovering flat earth and not sure, don't miss this conference. There'll be 1,000 people that think alike that you can talk to. You'll learn amazing new things about flat earth. If you're new, you'll meet amazing people. You'll make lifelong friends. I wouldn't miss it for the world. If somebody said to me, hey, we'll give you an all-expense-paid trip to the Caribbean, which is my favorite place to go, or you can pay your own way to the Flat Earth Conference, I would give up the Caribbean and go to this conference. You can find it at fe2018.com or just go to theflatearthpodcast.com and there's a link right there on the top of the page.
Look, guys, getting real tired of saying this. This is a podcast, okay? You're lucky Dave is still willing to upload it to YouTube. It's not going to always be there. Okay, you need to start preparing now, just like Brian Austin Lambert says. One day, this will not be on YouTube. You need to switch to a podcast platform. This is Matt Long, flatwork.com. Over and out.
All right, back with us here on the Flat Earth Podcast. And during a lot of the breaks in the past, Dave, we've talked about the Flat Earth Conference. The 2018 Flat Earth Conference is coming up in November this year. And I believe we've got a little special for some of our listeners out there.
Yeah, the Flat Earth Conference in Denver, we have a discount code for 10% off. Not huge, but it's better than a sharp stick in the eye. FE Podcast, no spaces, FEPODCAST. Get you 10% off your ticket price, and it's worth it at any price.
You're darn right. Yeah, especially for those out there who are planning on going anyway. The 10% is like you weren't expecting that to begin with. And boom, we just gave you 10.
There you go.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, let's get to some speak pipes. We have a guest. Our speak pipe troll, Matt Long, is here.
Matt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know how I got here. I was in my office working, and then all of a sudden I'm on the podcast.
Excellent. Well, now that the speak pipe troll Matt Long has joined us, let's go ahead and take the first one. This is from Kurt.
Okay, guys, use your imagination real quick. If you have a 100-foot steel beam off in the distance perfectly horizontal, or a piece of long grain rice held very closely to your eye, perfectly horizontal, or a tiny golf ball close to your eye, or say the size of the earth off in the distance, no matter what, a horizontal line over top the edge of the horizon of a quote-unquote ball should be detectable, because we're only kissing the edge of a line against the top quote-unquote of the curved surface. You can mix match those objects and come up with the same exact result. So the fact that it's claimed to be undetectable curved is false.
All right. Thank you for the call, Kurt. Did you guys catch that?
My head hurts. I was waiting for him. I was waiting for him to say, "Hold the golf ball horizontal." Is what I was waiting for him to say.
I have no idea. I think he's talking about you can make the rice the size of the steel beam. I was good. Then he put in the golf ball. I don't get it. I think Jaren's video that he just came out with showing the satellite in space, I hope you guys saw that, shows that you can't see, you should be able to see the curve on a ball. You should. He has some great footage. Did you guys see his video?
No, not that one.
So yesterday, the NASA has responded to our requests or our statement saying that no one's ever filmed a satellite in space.
Uh-oh.
So by chance, one of the astronauts through this weird window caught a satellite cruising by the space station. It is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
Wow.
And it's super low. It's embarrassing. They are desperate. So Jaren, you know that Jaren used to live in space. Remember, he used to live in his house orbiting up at the space station. He moved, but he moved to another house in orbit, and he looked out his window again, and guess what Jaren saw?
Oh, no. Did he see a satellite?
He saw a satellite way more real than the one NASA saw. So,
wow.
So, but in the video, he shows that you're just seeing the edge of where the light and the dark meet, and it's not a ball. Kind of got off topic here a little bit, but the guy's right. I think he's saying that you should be able to see a curve if there was one, and there isn't, so we don't see any. Matt?
I apologize. It was hard for me to follow what he was saying, and it's obviously hard just through Audible, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think where he was talking about the golf ball, I think he was saying that you could back up, like the Earth, for example, and you'd be able to see it and it'd be detectable. But I agree. If that's what he's saying, I agree with him.
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying, and I do agree. He's giving us a taste of our own medicine because we're always talking about these things on the show. And yeah, I have such a visual brain. I don't know about you guys, but like when it comes to things like this, I need to see the visual. That one was tough for me. Thank you, fellas, for helping me out on that one. All right, next one is Dave.
Hi guys, this is Dave out in California, Sacramento area. Hey, I saw something really cool on Golf Channel. I was watching Friday's Round, and they're talking about Elvis and flat Earth. I think Frank Nobilo is a flat earther. Check it out. Listen, see if you can hear this.
Graceland is only 18 miles away. It's a must go, seriously. And I believe that Elvis is still alive. I'm not going to take anything else. It's musical forever. And the Earth is flat. It is.
Today's cover. Awkward silence, right? Anyway, thought that was cool. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Did you guys know about the flat earth golfer? Anyone?
I had not, but that sounded really funny. Pretty cool.
It reminds me of the Baba Booies during golf tournaments. People yell Baba Booey, which is the code name for Gary, the producer on the Howard Stern show.
Oh.
So when you listen, when you watch pro golf, when the guy swings the ball, 9 out of 10 times you'll hear somebody yell Baba Booey.
Wow.
So The flat Earth is getting into the Baba Booey realm, which is great. I love it.
The Baba.
Flat smack any way you can. Whatever you got to do, just get it out there.
All right, next one is from, and this is legit, the Yeasty Buffalo.
So, I am going to say that I'm an anonymous flat earther. Well, I'm more on the side of it being flat, but a lot of good points are made, I think, for the flat earth. And one of them that I haven't really heard much of that I would think would help us to decide whether or not we're standing on a flat stationary plane would be to measure the distance between two buildings at the base of the buildings and then at the heights of the buildings over long distances. If you have equal distances from the bases and from the heights, then you know it's a flat plane, right? That's all I want to say. You guys do a great job. Take care.
All right, thank you, Yeasty Buffalo. And yes, that would be correct if you measured the distance from the bottom of the building to the top of the building. If they were on a ball, they should be different. Yes. Now, I guess the problem is somebody needs to lend me our 5-mile tape measure.
Exactly. How are you going to verify it? You have to find a building that isn't tapered in itself, and then you have to verify that slight curvature. It's a really tough one to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough one, too. One, I'm disappointed that Yeasty Buffalo wasn't that guy's real name. I'm super disappointed.
I know, huh?
You know, that in that concave, Earth documentary, that's one of, or excuse me, convex. That's one of the things that they were trying to do without much evidence to support it. But, I mean, you would have to go great distances to, in my opinion, get a noticeable difference. Tough experiment.
I think the convex guys brought that argument up because it's one that you really can't prove.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one that they brought that up, but they never showed the data and it was ambiguous at best. What I want to talk about, what he said was the beginning, that he is kind of on the flat side. He's an anonymous flat earther. That's just not acceptable anymore. You have to make your decision because you know what the truth is. And you have to speak up. It's our time to speak up and say something, do something.
I'll give him a little slack, Dave. That's dependent upon how long he's been into it. If he just got into it, everyone's got a little bit of research / fence time. But once you've been into it for a while and researched it for a while, yeah, you're right. Make your stand.
Once you start going over that fence, there's no going back. It's like trying to put toothpaste back in a toothpaste tube.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, Yeasty Buffalo. All right. Let's see. This one is from Daniel.
G'day, guys. It's Daniel here from Down Under. Yes, that's right. I am upside down right now, apparently. Mate, just checking out your Flat Earth podcast with the son of an astronaut. He was amazing. I mean, I lost track of how many excuses he gave to all of your questions after the first 20 minutes. I mean, all I heard was excuse after 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 excuse. Now, he did say he did look into a few things, but he couldn't remember. But then he followed that up with another excuse, and another excuse, and then another excuse, and then another excuse.
All right, that was the end of Daniel's message. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank God for the minute time limit.
Yeah, I know. Wow, we'd still hear being excuse.
What's more ridiculous, the excuses our friend Scott Veach made, or that ridiculous accent?
Yeah, that was pretty.
Is that real? Do people really talk like that?
I don't know. I love that he opened up with he's upside down from us right now.
Meanwhile, when he listens to me, he's like, do people really talk like that in New York?
Yeah.
Man, they sound Jewish.
I know. The other guy's got this raspy accent. I'm like, it's not an accent. It's just raspy, damn it.
I couldn't agree more with him. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. And Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
I'll say, yeah, there were a lot of excuses. It was an extremely entertaining show because of the back and forth and the conversation. So, not all guys like him are willing to even have a rational conversation. I feel like the conversation was fairly rational, but there were a lot of excuses.
I thought there was the conversation considering what flat Earth implies, and considering he knows that. Yeah, I thought it was very rational. But yeah, again, he chose to take the. So as not to sound negative, I'll say this: he chose to take the alternate explanation route for everything. Say that instead of excuses. Here we go. Next one is from Brian.
Hey guys, I hope you heard that NASA found all the moon landing videos, I guess after they doctored them all up with computers and things and erased all the little glitches that we could pick apart. They suddenly have found all the lost moon footage, video footage, just perfectly amazing. Just to coincide with the new movie coming out about Neil Armstrong and all the new Mars stuff that's going on. Very interesting. Keep up the good work, guys.
Right. Guys, did you hear anything about that?
I heard it from him, but no, I did not hear anything. I was expecting a big news release, but nothing happened. Maybe it was a fake article. Maybe who knows what it was.
I think it might be a fake article.
Globebusters just mirrored a video, and it looks like it was made a while ago, called Was It Just a Paper Moon? And it's a guy that really investigated the moon landings and the LEM. It's pathetic. I don't know how anybody could watch that and believe anything NASA has ever done. So check that out on the Globebusters channel. I will link it below.
Yeah, I was just Googling during that. I was just Googling NASA found moon footage. I did find one article that is on something called the express.co.uk. And it says world exclusive. And this was June 28th. Let's see. World exclusive. NASA finds missing moon landing tapes. So I don't know what this is all about. We'll have to look into it. But I literally found it on like one source. And usually that's a sign of, one of those little fake news pages or something.
Also, a Glober will go, what are you going to do now? They found the videos, even though they never saw them. There was an article that said they saw them, which psychologically reinforces their belief in NASA and heliocentrism and everything.
I'd love to hear where they found them.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, all it takes is a headline.
Didn't they find them in a McDonald's last time they found them?
I remember hearing something about that, Dave.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, they found in an abandoned McDonald's. They found like 50 cases of NASA films sitting in an abandoned McDonald's.
What? Are you serious?
Absolutely serious.
Oh, come on.
Google that, Jay.
Okay, I'm going to do that. NASA moon tapes. I'm doing it right now, actually, because I'm on it. McDonald's. Yeah, there's, wow. Okay, there's videos about it. I'm finding videos about it. Let's see. In an old abandoned McDonald's building and dubbed the Project McMoon. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Wow. So that's what they claim to
mocking all the way.
It so is, man. Let's see. Here we go. This one from Rob.
Hi, Dave and Curious Jay. Love the podcast. Leaving this message from the UK. Had a new laptop today. Doing some work. I often listen to YouTube videos about flat Earth while I'm working. And I've opened the browser for the first time today. Obviously, there's no cookies or search history or anything associated to it, so it cannot recommend anything for me. Popped in Flat Earth in the search bar, and the first 10 pages of Flat Earth videos on YouTube are just making an absolute mockery of the subject. So I just thought, if that is not programming at its finest via one of the world's greatest platforms for video for communication, I don't know what is. So I think somebody's definitely rattled. Thanks very much. Keep up the good work.
They're definitely rattled when you're what is it? When you're right above the target, they start firing at you.
What I have noticed is if you go to a computer that you've never searched, conspiracy stuff on, never been looking for NASA fakery or whatever, and you put in flat Earth, you're going to get those results. As compared to doing the exact same thing in the computer that you use all the time to research, it'll give you all of the better results because you already know, so that they don't care. They'll serve up all the good videos to you. But somebody that they think is checking for the first time, they're going to serve them nonsense, so they turn away.
Well, something that's also interesting, specifically with the Flat Earth podcast, is even though I've searched it before, if I'm on YouTube, obviously I've subscribed to it. And if I try to just search the Flat Earth podcast, the channel won't come up. I have to go to my subscriptions to find it. Not that I watch it on YouTube. That's ridiculous.
Thank you. People have been saying that even on their iTunes podcast players or whatnot are not notifying them, and it doesn't. My podcast player stopped notifying me of the Flat Earth podcast, but it notifies me of the other podcasts.
Yes, I get a notification anytime any new episode comes out of anything I'm subscribed to, except for this podcast.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's suspicious, don't you think?
Yes, I do, Flat Earth Man. I certainly do. Yeah, they're going to keep going, guys. I think it's very important that we hit other things besides the electronic stuff. That's why, we were talking to our guest earlier, who's out in Chicago and out in the public, trying to talk to people, handing out the trifold brochure. I think those things are going to become more and more important to do for those wanting to spread this word, because let's just face it, guys, we're outnumbered or outsized when it comes to the technology platforms. The minute they want to shut it down completely, they can.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're controlling it now. They're making us think that our videos are getting out to all of the people that have no idea. Sometimes they do. We have to figure out creative ways to put them out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you find a great video and then something, bring it, post it on the NASA channel or the channel, the Facebook page that had the satellite video. Everybody posted Jaren's video as a reply to each person. So if you have to get them one by one, you get them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. All right. Thank you for the call, Rob. And here is a call from Jordan.
Hey guys, my name is Jordan. I'm calling from Australia. So right now I'm upside down, spinning faster than the speed of sound. Woo! What a ride. Hey, really, really quickly, I am a flat earther. I would like to give a little bit of feedback, and this one's just to Dave. Dave, I love your passion. I think you're an incredibly smart man. I listen to all of your podcasts, man. All of you guys doing this fantastic work. Just want to say, keep it a little bit light on the Globers though, dude, because what's happening is I'm showing people the podcast and they're kind of hitting me back with, you're shooting down the Globers so quickly and, you can't get a word in and yada, yada, yada. So even pretend that we're on a ball floating through space, okay? Because it limits cognitive dissonance and it makes people feel a little bit more validated. That's it, guys. Great work. Keep it up. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Jordan. And I'll just say this about that statement. So what people don't realize is that Dave has been at this for a long time. And, what happens to your trigger finger when you've been burned over and over and over? So Dave's got a quick trigger finger when it comes to the Globers.
Sometimes I do snap a little easy. I try. I invited M. Scott Veach on, and I think that's what he was talking about. Me kind of coming down a little hard on him. So I will take your advice and see what I can do. No guarantees.
I haven't noticed it at all.
That's because you're the same as me.
That's awesome.
I mean, if you're dealing with something that's absolutely ridiculous, do you have to placate them? Really? Do you?
At first you do. I say at first you do. But not the trolls. And that's the thing. Dave has been in contact and had these trolls on his channels for years now. He's got a quick trigger finger when it comes to these guys.
I'd rather have Dave on my team than not on my team. I'll say that.
You're darn right about that. Yeah.
I've been using the Twitter a little bit, and man, we have dedicated trolls that just stay on our channel and post nonsense after nonsense. I put up one tweet and they just go crazy.
Yeah.
So
I think
interesting.
Yeah. I think if I saw as much of the troll activity as you do, Dave, and have for the last few years, I would probably be the same way.
No doubt.
All right, here we go. This one is from Sam.
Hey, Jay and Dave, this is Sam. I'm a data scientist, and I'm on the fence with the whole flat Earth thing. I mean, there's lots of definite arguments against the globe Earth. I think where I'm struggling with, and where most of the people who are more advanced in terms of their knowledge, for example, they have achieved a certain level of education, and I've talked to people, and they're struggling with the idea of flat Earth, mainly because we're doing the same thing that the globers did, and we're jumping to conclusion very quickly based on observations and other data sets, just like the globers did. They had certain data sets and they jumped to conclusion. My thought process is, if we really want to make this as a mainstream thought, even broader than what it has been, we need to take every single evidence as a grain of salt and do.
All right, I believe the time limit got cut off there on Sam, and I don't see a part 2 where he called back in. So I assume we'll just assume where he's going with that. I guess take everything with a grain of sand, research it thoroughly, etc. I think I've said it on the podcast before. My biggest discussion points when it comes to flat Earth are not about the flat Earth itself or what we actually are living on. It's to attack the globe because there's so many holes. And I've said on more than one occasion on this very program and in real everyday life conversations, when I'm asked certain questions rather than make up theories, I'd just rather say, I don't know. The globe side's had 500 years to patch their holes. They still can't do it. We've only had a couple of years. We're working on those things.
I have difficulty with what he was saying, that we're doing the same thing as the globers did, which is, in my mind, absolutely not true. Globers, normal people, are just believing stuff without checking, and it's so easy to check to see how ridiculous it is. We're not looking for the flat Earth. We're looking for proof, and everywhere we look, we're finding flat. We're finding not a ball, finding I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we're finding, when we research this, we find the lack of proof in the globe.
Not the lack of proof, the proof that it's not a globe.
Right.
We're finding. We can see too far.
Right.
There's so many things. I don't believe that statement is right, that we're doing the same thing that globers do. I always say, what's your one best argument? Like our guest earlier, what's your one best argument that you live on a ball? And when people actually try to think of it, it's nonsensical. It's photos, NASA, or they don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
The main difference is that we're not just accepting something. Now, there are people, out there that may be doing what this guy's talking about, but I think it's perfectly acceptable to say, I'm not sure about that. I know what I don't believe because of X, Y, and Z. There's a reason we don't believe it, and it's because we've looked into it. The explanations that is the opposite. I agree.
That is the opposite
of
what ballers do. So again, that was an assumption on his part, which is what ballers do. They make assumptions about everything, where they live and what we think and how we work and what we do.
Yeah, as you're giving your answer there, Dave, I got to wholeheartedly agree with you as I think about it, because when I think about the specific categories that we've all probably researched over the last few years, when I really stop and think about it, it's like I have researched, I've never once taken something that Flat Earth has offered up as a point, as a proof or anything, without a ton of research. I mean, I remember when I first got into this, people were talking about the southern hemisphere flights. I mean, I have spent hours upon hours going through flight websites, right? I didn't just take that and say, oh, wow, there's no southern hemisphere flights. Wow, that's interesting, and just take it as a point. No, same thing with no pictures of the no real pictures of the Earth, or there's no pictures of satellites in space. They're not real. I didn't just take any of these. I spent months on these topics combined. What I found is that the globe side, their answers, their quote unquote proof is not there. And like Dave said, there's actually more proof for the flat than the other side. Totally agree with you, Dave. This next one is from good old Quaalude Charlie.
Hi, David, Curious Jay. This is Quaalude Charlie. I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions about Precession and the pole star Polaris. I believe it's always been the pole star and that it doesn't change. And I'm wondering how the scientific community and the MSN concludes that it changes. with precession. I can't see this happening if the Earth truly is a level stationary plane, which I believe that it is. Anyway, really enjoyed the show. It's my first time using SpeakPipe. You guys have a good one. Peace.
Yeah, we're told that there's another star that's going to be our North Star in 40,000 years. And there was another one, 20, 30, whatever, how many thousand years earlier. But we happen to live in this time where we're perfectly lined up with a pole star, because if it meandered from star to star, there would be massive amounts of times. 99% of the time would be pointing towards no star. And we just happen to live in this time.
Mm-hmm.
Utter nonsense.
Yeah.
We're always pointing at Polaris because it's our pole star. And
he did ask the question. He said, how can, scientists and the MSM just take this? Well, I think the answer is different for each of those, because your mainstream media, no one looks into this. They just trust the words of the scientists, the astrophysicist, or whoever that's on their show, the Neil deGrasse's out there, and go, okay, sounds about right. Oh, okay, it's going to move in 20,000 years. That's why. But these scientists, I question that too. I say, one that's not, let's say, a bad guy who's just doing his work. It is so hard for me to wrap my head around one of those guys coming across these things. They've got to at some point say that doesn't make sense. We would see it moving by, half a degree a year or whatever it is, half a degree every decade. So in 20, 30 years, it should be a degree or two off. I guess it's the threat of being alienated by their peers that keeps them from ever asking the question aloud. That's my guess.
What would be the problem with just asking the question? You don't even have to make a statement, right?
Yeah. And I guess over the years, there's probably been some that have asked the questions.
Absolutely.
They're given an answer by their professor that makes the class laugh, like, well, Mr. So-and-so, whenever you want to provide us with the equation that works out better, let us know. And then boom, and then the class giggles at them and they're shut down. I don't know how it goes exactly, but I do know that is such crap, that precession thing. We can't explain it, so let's give it an answer. Let's give an answer where the proof is not going to happen for another 26,000 years or so.
We'll just have to wait.
That's just.
We'll just have to wait.
And we'll just trust you. We'll just trust you because that's the math. It works.
By then, we'll be on Mars and everywhere else. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Let's get one from Tommy real quick.
Hey guys, this is who else but Tommy else. And I had two questions for you. Number one is as of today, which is June 18th, there's been apparently a Space Force military being brought up by President Trump. And I wonder what you think about that, considering that on the flat Earth model, there is no space. My variations that flat earthers have of what they consider to be the firmament of the flat Earth, and not knowing for sure what it is consisted of, it is curved, and in like a snow globe is the way most people see it. Do you think there's a way to prove the curvature of that?
So thank you, Tommy, for the call. And no, to answer that question, I don't. I mean, we can't even prove. It's so hard to get a test done on this to prove that the Earth is without any room for argument, flat or curved. So I think that would be extremely tough.
The experiment we talked about with the balloons, one on the ground and then to the left and to the right, 15 miles each way. You have one at 150 feet. From the observer on the ground in that middle balloon, he'll see all balloons in a straight line when he knows that they're not.
True.
Even on a flat Earth, that's how you would see it because of perspective.
Because when you get 30 miles away, or however many miles away you want to get, yeah, everything's going to shrink, everything's going to come together, and it's going to look like they're in a row. It's going to look like three tiny little balloons all in a row.
If you don't believe it, look, go to a space where you can, over water usually, where you have a puffy cloud day, and look, 20 miles into the distance, and the clouds that you see over there will be level with your head. And on the other side, they're level with your head. But that even if there was curvature, they're 10,000 feet in the air. There's not 10,000 feet of curvature. So optics in the air are extremely difficult to prove.
Matt, you got to take on can we measure the firmament?
Well, I think one, there are some heavy implications of allowing part twos of speak pipes that you guys need to heavily consider whether
Yep.
you're going to allow that. No, I don't believe it can be measured because I think it says that in the Bible. I'd have to reference the verse. So no, I don't believe that you can actually measure it. And as far as the Space Force, I've just seen a lot of really awesome memes. I don't really know what to think of it just yet.
I was so excited when that came out. I applied, but they told me there was no space.
Ridiculous. That's what I say to the Space Force thing. Yeah, I didn't even look into it. I just laughed at the headlines. What has anybody looked into that? What are they going to do?
I have no idea what they're going to do. Are they taking applications? Are they moving people from other armed services over? I think it's just mocking us once again. Just like, hey, we found moon tapes.
Yeah.
And then nothing comes of it.
I'm just picturing like the TSA, but in stormtrooper outfits. And it just, everything I picture is it's just horrible or hilarious, either one. All right. So the next one is from AJ.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Jay. Hey, guys. Love your work. Been into this whole flat earth thing for a while now. It started with the whole NASA Life Factory. I just can't get around that. And it's just leading to everything else. On that topic, just the discussion of Orion, and not even the production, but just the concept of Orion being sent out to measure the Van Allen belts to see what kind of shielding is going to be required to pass through, protecting the little things like data, telemetry, electronics in general, and eventually people. I mean, they say they can't even get they need this to even see how they can get anything to get through. This is basically admission to not sending men to the moon, not having a Mars rover because of its electronics, telescopes and their stuff, or satellites. I mean, this is absolute admission. What do you think?
Right. Thank you, AJ. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that whoever produced that Orion documentary, I don't know if they just didn't run it up the flagpole like you're supposed to, or if this was their way of admitting something without admitting. But yeah, I mean, it definitely flies in the face of everything, all these other big missions that NASA has supposedly done.
Are satellites supposedly as high as the Van Allen radiation belts?
So the geostationaries are, as high as 10,000 miles or so.
Yeah, well, I think I've seen as far as 25,000 miles.
The average geostationary is 22,000 miles above the Earth's equator, following the direction of the Earth. The two main belts of Sir Van Allen extend from an altitude of about 500, this is in kilometers here, 500 to 58,000 kilometers. So yeah, there's quite a few satellites in that range.
If they're geosynchronous at 22,000 miles above the equator, so the equator is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, how fast is that satellite moving at that distance?
I'll give you the formula. It's
angular speed.
Yeah, it's orbital velocity is equal to the square root of big G times the mass of the Earth times the radius from the center of the Earth out to that point.
RFF, Dave.
Let me just do that really quick. The G, the radius, the mass. So really friggin' fast.
Exactly. That's the answer I came up with. Let's move on. So the next one is from Jeremy.
Hey guys, great job on the podcast. I really enjoy listening to it. I've got to actually look each time for some reason. My podcast player, my iTunes podcast player, doesn't just give me a pop-up notification for when you have a new one. But anyway, I was thinking about the last time you guys were talking about, somebody had mentioned a night launch on a balloon, and got me thinking about the conference in Denver. Since Denver's already a mile high, then what would it take to put together some sort of a GoFundMe or something like that so that we could get some guys put together to make a balloon and send that balloon off at the conference when we're already a mile high into the atmosphere? Give it some thought and talk about it. Thanks, guys.
Right. Thank you for the call. For those of you who missed the episode where we were talking about that, I was referring to an email that someone had sent in, and we discussed it here on the podcast. Simple experiment of sending up a balloon, say around midnight, sometime between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., somewhere in that range. If it returns back with footage and we see the sun, like we do in so many of these balloon launches where the sun is off in the distance, then your heliocentric model is pretty much, well, it's dead at that point. If you can see the sun, if you are on the opposite side of the Earth, because that's what midnight would be on the opposite side of the sun, and you go up 100,000 feet, 80,000 feet, whatever it is, you're only just a smidge off the surface of the ball on the night side. There is no humanly way possible to see the sun off in the distance. And so I thought it was a great idea.
Dwayne Kellum, master balloon launcher, had a nighttime launch on the 27th of June that was scheduled. And he actually had 2 balloons with a big payload. And he was going to have a special camera on there for us to take a picture every 5 seconds to use as the backdrop of the billboard. But I guess it was a little windy. One of the balloons popped. He had to scratch the whole thing. He had to pop the second balloon. And now he has to reschedule. So I don't know if being in Denver, being a mile high, makes that big of a difference. I think you need just a place where there's open expanse of a flat plane so you can recover the balloon easier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Denver is a good place or a bad place, but it all has to do with weather, ease of tracking and getting it.
I have 0 balloon launching experience / knowledge. So I agree. I concur, but I like it.
Great experiment. And that's what we actually have that plan, to do multiple balloons at the same time from different locations and use that data to once again prove we don't live on a ball.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get one last one. It's AJ again. So let's see if this is another good call from AJ.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Jay. I love your guys' show. Please keep up the good work and never stop. Keep spreading that truth. Donald Trump just extended the military to a 6th branch called the Space Force. Genius on one front. Just solved the conundrum of civilians in space. If you don't want civilians somewhere, it just militarized the zone. Boom, problem solved. Chalk one up right there, baby. That was a good one. However, this isn't anything to be taken lightly. This is absolutely a war on intelligence. I mean, this attacks every single human being on Earth and their intelligence. And this is the ultimate strike. And this really has me quite livid. They can only go so far with this, and I think they just did. I mean, we need to put an end to this. I mean, we talk about an awful lot, but this is worse than the moonwalk. This is worse than everything that we've seen so far. Love the billboard, guys. Keep it up.
Right. Thanks. Some more thoughts there on Space Force. Yeah, that's an aspect we didn't talk about a second ago, guys. They're actually, by making it an extra branch of the military, it does. It sort of militarizes space.
Says it's a war on intelligence, and I couldn't agree more. It's really just people believing this blindly is a war on intelligence. I just call it space farce. That's it. I got nothing else to say about it.
Space farce.
Ooh, I like space farce.
That's good. That's a T-shirt waiting to happen.
I think it already happened. Hey, don't forget our T-shirt shop on theflatearthpodcast.com. We have all sorts of shirts and designs there, and more coming.
And don't forget, for the caller a couple of calls ago who mentioned the fact that he was not getting the notifications, you can actually go to the Flat Earth Podcast website, go up there and click the little red button, and you can get notified anytime we post. Is that correct, Dave?
That is correct. So when the new episode comes up, you'll get a notification there also.
Yeah, let's take it out. We're having to take this out of the hands of the guys who are supposed to notify you, and we'll do it ourselves. All right. If that's I think that's the last one for the week of the Speak Pipes. Got to thank our guests from earlier, Andrew and Steve, also Matt Long for joining us. Matt, tell them again where they can find your channel.
Okay, so you can go to flatworth.com and that'll take you straight to my YouTube channel, or you can just search Flatworth on Google or on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll find me.
Yes. And when we had you on the show last time, Matt, I went and actually, of course, subscribed, but I went through and checked out the shorter videos that you've done and stuff with the tennis ball and all that.
Awesome, man,
just really, really a good channel.
The tennis ball one's my favorite. It's so funny. I every time I think about it, I watch it again. Great video. I will link that also in the description. A lot of you, I'm finding out, don't know that my channel is DITRH. Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole is the initials. DITRH is my YouTube channel where you could find lots of short videos that are good with sharing with Globers who won't watch an hour-long video or listen to a 3-hour podcast, because I think that's where we are this week.
Oh, it's going to be a big one. It's a doozy.
Yep.
It's a doozy. It's going to be fun to edit, right?
We had some technical difficulties, and the editing, the tracks together is going to be a little difficult, but I hope to get it done in the next 7 days.
We're gonna have to put on Morgile's site. I was gonna say you have to call the Morgile to figure out how to upload something that big.
Oh, there you go. Very funny. Referencing John the Morgile from Globebusters, who puts out, a short video is 2.5, 3 hours for him.
Yep.
But it's all fascinating stuff. I don't know how he does it.
Oh, he's my go-to guy for the details of the, as far as like solar system and astronomy and all that goes. Man, you can't get any more detailed than his videos on that stuff.
The Morgile is his YouTube channel, and he's also on Globebusters every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
All right, guys, if that's all we got, then let's go ahead and roll out after this monster episode, and we'll catch everyone next time on the Flat Earth Podcast.
This week's song is by Andrew Lanks.
Yes.
Alleged friend of Yeshua.
Yeah, the alleged friend. Right. That's not the name of the song, though.
All right, everybody. See you next week or time or whenever.
People of Earth, what's up, y'all? I got a news flash for you. You ready for this? All right, let's do this. Hey, here we go. There was never a race to space, just a mission control to control this place. They gave us the ball, Earth, smile right to our face. NASA went to the moon on a studio lot. That's when Buzz and Neil, they got their big Hollywood shot. They got back and looked whack like somber robots. Cause at the end of this plot, 52 mil a day, and CGI's all we got. NASA, we like to see your credentials, please, and stop selling us on Bill Nye and MDT. Because they've malfunctioned like they came out the fly machine. Nah, we ain't running. We call BS on your blue marble G's. You done more airbrushing than a carnival's painted custom tees. We like real science, not the pseudo type. You guys will scratch your own back so long. We bought into your hype, but now our eyes wide open, looking fresh at the plane. B900 on draw, more legit than your golf game. Had a song bending knee at the altar of space, but now we flat smacked them right back in their place. One people, one truth in the same race. Always remapping, flat smacking right here, not in space. Had a song bending knee at the altar of space, but now we flat smacked them right back in their place. One people, one truth in the same race. Always remapping, flat smacking right here, not in space. They hit our creator, replaced him with a demonic snake. Oldest trick of indoctrination that we were trying to shake. Cause when they zig with a lie, we gon' shake and bake, calling them out. Now we see exactly what's fake. Yo, I got flat smack for you. Top of my game, I woke my cousin, mother, brother, treat them one and the same. Yo, I smacked them cause I love them, only controllers to blame. Engage your fellow man, truth has no shame. Had a song bending knee at the altar of space, but now we flat smacked them right back in their place. One people, one truth in the same race. Yeah. Flatsmacker.com. Check out our flat earth sticker designs and more. You know this place is flat, yeah.